Hey, welcome everybody. This is John Paul Mendoza, Dr. Speed Selling. This is Raging Verbalist. I am raging today. It's been a crazy week, and hopefully it's going to come out good. Boy, is that bad English. Anyway, welcome to Raging Verbalist. This is number 94. And with me, as always, to temper the Raging Verbalist, to feed questions to the Raging Verbalist, to be your alter ego out there is the ever lovely Sandra. Welcome, Sandra.
Hello, how are you doing?
Well, there's a certain grisly feeling today. So yeah, and of course today we have, I think, a great topic. We have a great topic, which is all about, well, we'll find out in a second. But before we do that, make sure that you go on to our Facebook page, Position to Win Book, and you can go check us out there. Also available on YouTube. And by the way, if you go to Facebook, you can ask questions of me through Sandra. Be nice, be kind, be respectful, do all of those things. So, Sandra, kick us off with today's exciting topic.
All right, so we're talking about warning labels, also known as stupid labels. So why are there so many stupid labels?
Well, the root cause, as you know, if people talk about root cause, and we could, get very intellectual, but the real cause of it is that, especially in the United States, we have lots of lawsuits. And that means whenever something happens that you're not happy with, you can go sue somebody. In all likelihood, no matter how frivolous, ridiculous, and nutty the lawsuit is, you can actually probably win. So what that results in is somebody saying, okay, what I'll do is we'll give you a little bit of money. So you hush money. So you just shut up and go away. But more importantly, that we're going to make amends and we're going to stick on yet another label, another what I consider probably a pretty stupid label. We all should think of these as stupid labels, and we need to fight the stupid labeling trend because there are lots and lots of them. In fact, we don't even have nearly enough time to go through all the stupid labels. Do a little bit of research, and when you go out and look at it, you will find lots of crazy, stupid labels. And I'll just share my first stupid label right out of the chute is that a utility knife company, if you've ever seen a utility knife, it can be used to cut things, which is what a knife is supposed to do. And they were required on their blade box, because they had replaceable blades, that utility knife or that blades may be sharp. All I can say is that if you're an entrepreneur and you want to go counter to this trend, if you want to be an idiot contrarian, maybe you would have the dull blade company and you would only ship dull blades. You probably would be sued unless you, of course, put the label on there is that warning, these blades are dull and they will not cut anything, any way, shape, or how. And that's the way that goes. So that's my first stupid label, which is a blade company being forced by a lawsuit to put there that they are sharp blades. And all I can tell you is that, that's our first stupid label of the day.
All right. So with that, though, or do you have any other particular favorites that are just so stupid?
Well, probably one of my favorite ones that I ran into is, and this is from the days of when I was a smoker, is that you would buy one of those little Bic lighters, and obviously they had lost a lawsuit to somebody, or somebody put a lawsuit, and it talked about the fact that that the lighter, that the flame could be hot, that if you in fact were lighting this and doing things, and for those who are out there who are who imbibe in certain cannabis products, and keep that lighter on there for a long time to really get that thing going, is that little metal cage could get really hot. And if you're really loaded, you could like burn yourself or something. But it literally, they had a label that said, Sandra, that the lighter, that the flame could be hot. Once again, that's why we bought it. That's why it's there. If you don't understand that, then maybe you shouldn't be doing that. So that's one of my favorites. So Sandra, you probably have a favorite of your own that you've run into, and because I can't wait to hear one of yours.
Yeah, so I've got a lot of hair, so curling iron, flat iron, on there. It has like an illustration of an eye with a red X through it. And it says like, warning, do not use on your eyelashes. That's so bad.
So what you're saying is that they had to tell people that you're going to take this hot rod that gets plugged into the wall and gets really hot. It has a little clip so it doesn't like burn a hole in your, wherever you set it down. And people
Exactly.
were putting it close to their eye to curl their eyelashes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, that's one. I think that's a good one. And I think it also, now, by the way, this entire Raging Verbalist could be almost viewed as a public service announcement, because we're helping people find things that maybe they didn't know, like, putting a hot iron close to your eyeball, not a good idea, and you have to do that because, see, if you poke out your eye, you couldn't read the warning label. Don't do that. Another one of my favorites is the hair dryer one, which says, do not use this in bed. And when I first read that first line, do not use a hair dryer in bed, I was wondering, I rarely take a shower. Now, I don't have like crazy long hair, but I used to do like all kinds of crazy stuff with my hair. And so I went through the blow dryer phase, where you got the whole blow dryer and then you're working it and you're doing this, you're doing that and all this cool stuff. But I never thought of saying, this is something that I would want in bed. Now, I originally, when I saw that, my mind went to an explicit place. Is that a nice way to say it? And thinking, what would you use the blow dryer in bed for? But then I read further because I needed to know. And what it said is, do not put this under the covers and use this as a mechanism to heat up your bed. And because if you do, and you cover that up, because for those of you who don't understand how fire, notice we have a lot of these with fire so far, but if you cover that up, this thing is going to get overheated and light the bed on fire. And that was one of my favorite ones is, don't put the hair dryer under the covers, suffocating the hair dryer until it burns you up. Didn't seem like something I would have to think about, but apparently we have to put that as a label. All right, give us another one. What's one of your favorite ones?
All right. So, the sun shield that you put in your car when it's like really hot out. So there's a label on that that says, do not drive with sun shield in place.
Well, and of course, that's absolutely practical advice, given the fact that, you may not be able to discern that if you can't see out the window, you shouldn't be driving the car in that direction. I know these are tough things. You gotta connect the dots. You've got to think your way through it. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that one. And I just wonder about that. Now, by the way, I have seen people do some silly things with this type of thing. But yeah, I often wonder, even when they have the sun shield removed, if some of these people can actually see outside of the vehicle just by the way they're driving. Talking about the whole curling iron thing, I was just moved to California. And so I was just getting, and when you move to Southern California, you kind of have to ease your way into traffic and understand that there's this whole thing called traffic, that for all of you out there who think you've seen traffic, come to LA for the traffic and you won't be able to leave because you'll be stuck in traffic. So I'm driving to my office and, and I understood, because I had like a real kind of day job kind of thing. It's when day jobs, really day jobs. I get in my car, jump in the car. By the way, at that time, I was still a smoker, get in the car, sitting there driving, and I am stuck in really bad, and there's only one way to say it, bullshit traffic. And there's like, 8 lanes of bullshit traffic. And I look over and here is a woman, and she has a curling iron and she is doing her curling iron thing. Now, if you leave at the same time every day, what you do is you kind of see the same people in traffic. I mean, it's not like you really like get to know them. I mean, I guess you could like mouth words like hello, and stuff like that. And I was just curious. I mean, how do you get the curling iron to work? inside there because, I mean, you can't, like, if you plugged it in the cigarette lighter, the car would, the dash would melt down because they take really serious power. And I had to go find out. So I went to a beauty supply place and I said, hey, I saw this person and she had a curling iron in her car. And the woman said, oh, yeah. Now she looked at my hair. My hair is super, super, super straight hair. She says, oh, is it for you? No, it's not. Oh, is it for your, girlfriend, wife, whoever, paramour, who is it? And I said, no, this is just me being curious. And she walks over and she shows me that they didn't have just one, but they had 3 different models. And what they did is they ran off of a butane cartridge, which heated this thing up to hundreds and hundreds of degrees. And this is before we had really crazy labels. But on this, it said, do not set this down, because they realized that they're doing this for, it was supposed to be travel, like, you're traveling somewhere and you're in a hotel and you got your curling iron and all that stuff. And they had a warning label, do not set this down on your carpet. And can you imagine 1980s car carpet? And remember, I said I was a smoker. One of the worst things about being a smoker is that you burn shit in your car. I mean, you do. I mean, it just happens. And you ever find somebody who said, because they had a label that said, be careful with this. And I said, how hot does this thing get? And it got to like hundreds of degrees to, put your hair in place. So that was a butane curling iron that you could take with you. Now, I don't think they ever really intended people to use it in the car, but this woman was curling her hair every single day. So there you go. That's a bonus one. All right. Give us another one. What's another one that you've seen that we should be aware of and understand? Some of you might be taking notes out there. Now, I didn't do a disclaimer. If you're doing anything dangerous at all, don't take notes. Like, if you're juggling chainsaws, if you're splitting a diamond, if you're working at the nuclear power plant like Homer Simpson, don't take notes. But everybody else, these are some gems here. Okay, so give us another one.
On some egg cartons, it actually says may contain eggs.
Well,
in case you're allergic or something,
Well, and this whole allergy thing is taking off. Now, I'm sympathetic to people who are allergic, and that means that Southwest will never serve another peanut again. And I understand that because people get allergic. But there you go. Here's my warning for all of you. If you're allergic to eggs, do not be by the egg counter in the store. Do not buy eggs if you're allergic to eggs. Just saying. I mean, I'm not a doctor. I mean, Dr. Speed Selling. I mean, that's for selling. I'm not a medical doctor. I am not giving advice in that regard. But I'm just saying that probably makes a little bit of sense. So there you go. Well, those are some good labels. So there you go.
All right. So maybe what are a few labels that we should have that aren't out there yet?
Well, here's my favorite label that I think should be out there, but isn't. But and we're going to have someone on this call do a reveal of something secret in just a moment. I think that we should have the pumpkin spice latte, maybe addictive label, because you got to have that label on this thing, because the people who are into pumpkin spice lattes are sitting there and you can see them milling about in by Starbucks places. And once that thing gets released, once that drug and it gets smuggled in from who knows where, the great pumpkin spice latte thing happens, these people are dangerous because they've got that pumpkin on their back. They've got that thing. Now, Sandra, you may want to now confess your addiction at this point in time.
I love pumpkin spice lattes. They're wonderful. It's the best. Well, not the best part of fall because that's football, but it's up there. Okay.
and you have this now. By the way, I understand that there's Pumpkin Spice Anonymous, where people get together and they go through a 12-step program. They give themselves up to a higher power because they are powerless against the pumpkin spice latte.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I understand that. And yeah, it's a scary thing. It's a scary thing to watch that. Now, all I can say is if you're out there and you have this, I don't know if there's an 800 number, but I think right now we're coming into the pumpkin spice latte season, so you can go get your fix. I just think
We're
that's
already there. Yeah. It started in August now. They're like even a week earlier than they used to. So got some addicts going.
You heard
like
it
3 weeks in. Come on.
you heard it right from one of your brethren. She speaks the truth, and you can go get it. We have no special coupons with a deal with Starbucks, but yes, that is like a big deal. So that's a label that I think we should have out there, because we should have that on that these things may be addictive, because people go crazy over them.
That's right. That's
So
right.
so do you have a label that you think we should have?
Yes, I think from hearing enough friends complain about dating apps, it should say you're looking for love in all the wrong places, or stop swiping. Just stop. I'm tired of hearing about it. You're not going to find anyone that really cares. Maybe there's few out there, but not too many. That hasn't been the case for them so far.
So what you're saying is that there are people who are insincere on dating sites, who are looking for not necessarily a long-term relationship, and in fact may not be, sincere, may not be kind, may not be, but they are motivated and driven by some secret force that we may not even speak about, and that they are out there on these dating sites, and those dating sites are in fact infested with with these kinds of people.
Right. Or they're catfishing someone or scamming someone. The internet is not full of nice, friendly people, just so everyone knows. That's another one. That's another label.
Well, and by the way, that would be interesting if they put that label up there, if somebody would pay heed to it, because it usually isn't the case. Now, one of the things that you probably want to be thinking about while you're going through this today is saying, well, what should we be thinking about as we're sipping our pumpkin spice latte and stuck on one of those dating sites and with the people who are insincere? And I have a solution. And one of the solutions is that you should really be reading my book. And my book is Most Businesses Fail in Their First 5 Minutes. It just takes them 3 to 5 years to realize it. Position to Win. You can go to positiontowinbook.com, positiontowinbook.com, get an autographed copy. That means I sign it and we send it to you. Physical book. You can also get it at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, and wherever books are sold. You can order it and everybody can get that. Also, you can get it digitally on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Apple. Also, you can check out Remote Work for a Better World, so you can find out how to do whatever job you're doing in a better way remotely. And that's only available exclusively on the Amazon Kindle store. And that is still a mind-blowing 99-cent bargain. And for those of you who have never experienced the Position to Win podcast, we just dropped episode number 29. Go check that out. And if you do that, you will have more fun, more excitement. If you go to positiontowinbook.com, there are some freebies there for those of you who are trying to figure out what you want to do in your life or your business or whatever you're dealing with, and you can go check that out. Now, Sandra, as we continue on our trek for stupid labels, where do we go next?
All right. So maybe on a more serious note, what really should be labeled or emphasized, but hasn't been?
Well, I have to tell you one, having traveled for so many hundreds of thousands, millions of miles on airplanes, is there should be a warning label that says that you shouldn't let your children play on the floor of an airplane. I mean, all I can tell you is that is some of the most disgusting surface I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it's bad enough when people take off their shoes and are walking around, yikes. But my thing is they take their little Weebelo, they take their little, precious cargo, and they put the kid down on the floor, and the kid is there, and kids lick anything. I mean, hey, when I was seriously boozing, I mean, I used to lick Jack Daniels off of the bar. I mean, who wants to waste it, just in case? But I mean, kids on the floor of an airplane, yikes. I mean, bad idea. I think that should be a label for sure. And I think there should be, maybe there should be a, some kind of penalty. I mean, wow. What are you thinking? And these are the same people who are worried about, are we keeping things clean enough? Yeah. Floor of an airplane, bad idea. So which one would you pick, Sandra? Which one would you have?
Mine, there's already kind of like signage for it, but it should definitely be emphasized, which is don't get close to wildlife or, animals in like national parks. Every year from some tourists, there's a story about, people getting hurt or mauled or this or that because they tried to get really close for that picture online, or they wanted to feed it. Like, no, it's a wild animal. Don't get close to it.
So are you saying that a cute, cuddly little bear that's sitting there, that you shouldn't just pick it up and cradle it in your arms and it's like a teddy bear? Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Yeah. Went to Yellowstone a couple summers ago. Somebody walked right up to a buffalo in a parking lot, and they're like trying to get a picture. It's like, I'm not sticking around for this. Not a good idea. Get out of here.
Well, and since you grew up on a farm, you understand that livestock has no idea how big they are. So how big is a buffalo? I mean, it's like like the size almost of a car, right?
It's probably bigger than a bull. It's like a ton. It's a couple thousand pounds, depending if it's a calf or a female or a bull buffalo. It's massive and totally wild, at least with like cattle. And if you've been around them, you can kind of herd them. They've been around you, you feed them, you're their source, their, safe haven or comforter or whatever. But with the completely wild animal, no. They're like, what the heck are you? Get out of here.
Yeah. Well, and here's another one I think that you'd probably agree with it. And again, I grew up in an era where, you jump in the back of a pickup truck and you drive around, that's probably not a good idea in any way. But my one is where they put their dog loose in the back of a pickup truck. Bad idea. Because let's face it, dogs are very impulsive. That's why we domesticated them in the first place. And I just see people having dogs in the back, and they'll jump out. You'll come to a stop, they see something, boom, they're gone. And by the way, if you've ever seen dogs chase rabbits, first off, I've never seen a dog catch a rabbit. I never have. I mean, I've seen a cat do it. I've never seen a dog catch a rabbit. And they will run as hard as they can without any thought, without any, boom. So that would be one of that I would say is, don't put your dog in the back of the pickup truck loose. You gotta tie them in there so they don't get out, so they don't hurt themselves. Take care of your dog. So what's your other one that you would have?
It's kind of along the same lines of the first one, but it's like people that take the Instagram influencers who take pictures off the side of a cliff or, that kind of thing, trying to get that perfect selfie. Or there are the signs that say like, no climbing beyond this point. Do not walk past this guardrail. It's there for a reason. So maybe get more specific. You cross this line, you risk death. Don't do it.
Well, it's interesting that we get excited about these kind of extreme photos and watching this, and we kind of get this, voyeuristic excitement that, wow, look at that. Look at how dangerous that is, or look at what that looks like. If you ever go and watch a Harold Lloyd film, I mean, this is the Silent Days films, and Harold Lloyd did all of these crazy stunts until you realize that all the stunts were performed in such a way that it looks very dramatic, but it wasn't dangerous at all. But if you go watch those, and you can go find them on the internet, Harold Lloyd did some amazing stunts. But the reality of it is that he understood how to make it look dramatic without risking his life and limb. And I agree with you. I mean, I have seen people do some really stupid things, And, especially when they don't understand as they keep backing up and backing up and backing up and, falling off into the canyon somewhere. And they're surprised that this happened. By the way, it happened to a cousin of mine. His wife fell into a canyon, into a ravine, and went down and like broke I don't know how many bones, and they had to go and almost like airlift her out because literally she was backing up. So they hey, well, let's take a better picture of you, and whoo, away you go. So good idea. All right. Do you have another one? Do you have another one that you think that we should talk about that before we dive into the next? What do you think?
I didn't have one specifically, but just from talking and thinking about it, my cousin used to do kind of like the rescue in parks because he was such a good climber and hiker and things like
Right?
that. And just coming across enough people who like don't know their own limits or think, oh yeah, I can climb this high up a mountain, no problem. It's like elevation's very different. Breathing is a lot harder. Like when you sign up for stuff, just know your limits and maybe have a larger disclaimer when you from the ranger when you get to a park. All of mine are involving parks for some reason. But be smart. That's all I can say.
Yeah, as a Navy SEAL once told me, who I was on a speaking at an event. We were in the green room. He goes, John, always remember this: when you pull the pin out of the hand grenade, it is no longer your friend. And they probably should put a warning label on that. They should probably do that. Yeah,
There you go.
once you pull the pin on the grenade, it's no longer your friend because it is live and active. And if you let it go, not good. So just and I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying go out and test that or anything. I'm just saying that it seemed like wise philosophy. So all right, so that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So question. So what are some labels you would have given to some employees you've previously had?
So I was working with a sales team, and invariably I'd get these really high testosterone guys, and there's a couple of them. But I'll give you one that which was always crazy, which is they would they're now in their 20s. They've watched I don't know how many movies with with the car chases and all this other stuff. And there's a specific maneuver that you can make in a car where you can essentially, whip the car around and, screeching tires and doing all this. And you've seen this, probably if you've watched enough movies, 20, 30, 50, 100 times. And what would happen is that, these guys would come to a meeting and everybody would have their own rental car. And somebody would come up to me and say, John, we've got a situation. And I go, okay, what is it? How bad is it? And oftentimes I would have to drive with them to where somebody has ripped the tire off of, if you've never seen a tire get ripped off of a rim, it's a pretty nasty thing. I mean, because the tire explodes and the car gets screwed up. And what happens is they're screaming down this parking lot and then they try to whip the car around just like a stunt man or stunt woman would do and rip the tire off. The tire explodes, the car goes spinning. Woo! Now, obviously, the car rental companies are not sitting there going, this is what we expect you're going to do with our car. And all of them would have this really dumb look on their face and amazed that this happens, in which I would then have to explain to people. Now, this has happened to me probably over 5 times in my life with different sales, different people, 5 times in my career. It may have happened more because I would actually tell people, when you do this, do not come to me because you have screwed up. Not a single one of those ever went where somebody wasn't paying several $100s to fix the said car and all of that, because again, easy to break a lot of stuff. And the thing is that they went, but look how cool it looks in the movies or on television or something. And my answer was always, yeah, except that they're professionals. They know how to do this. They've done this before. They have vehicles that are designed for this. They have all kinds of other things. And so that was one that I think is that I'll share at this point in time. And there probably should have been a warning label, which is why I started to warn them ahead of time. Let me tell you the stupid stuff that's going to come into your head and the things that you shouldn't do at this point in time in your life or ever, unless you are actually going to become a professional, whatever that's going to be. All right. I know we've got time for just maybe one more. So what do we have?
All right. So do you have any crazy stories from your Vegas days that deserve a warning label? And then I'll call this the honorable mentions category.
Okay. So I'm in Vegas, and we decide that we need to rent a car because we rented cars. And this is at a time when you rented a car where you didn't need, you really didn't need much in the way of ID. All you needed was money. And we rented a Ford Custom 500, which was a car that they didn't sell to civilians. It essentially was a stripped down LTD, and it had rubber floor mats, 2-speed transmission, all of that. So we're sitting there, me and a let's just say a friend, and we're sitting there at the light, parked at the light, and we're minding our business. We have stuff in the trunk that we don't want necessarily anybody to go and looking at and investigating. Car is just white as can be, black wall tires, almost looks like an undercover cop car. I mean, it really does. And as we're sitting there, listening to some crappy AM radio, we get slammed into behind, and we end up skidding forward because I had my foot firmly on the brake and popping the guy in front of us partially into the intersection. Now, jump out of the car and run to the back and see that, well, there's a broken tail light and a little bit of the fender is bent, but this thing is like a monster car. The guy behind us had screwed up the front of his car. And the guy who was out in the intersection runs back and says, "Hey, you guys hit me." So I'm thinking this is going to be bad news. And as we're talking to the guy who banged into us, and this guy says, "Listen, I can't be here." And while he's saying that, he runs and jumps into the car, radiator water leaking, and drives off. And we turn around to go look at the guy who was sitting in the middle of the intersection, and he's gone. And we look at each other and said, "What the hell are we doing here?" And we jump in the car and drive off. And by the way, we paid the guy at the rental car lot, I don't know, $250 or whatever it was, and say, "Hey, car got damaged at the parking lot or something." But that's one of those warning labels about Vegas that you needed, which is crazy stuff can happen in Vegas. And all that talk about what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas only if you're lucky. So that was one of those where we thanked our lucky stars because no one even noticed that this was going on. Of course, those were the days, but nobody even noticed what was going on. So that's been our stupid warning labels. If you have stupid warning labels that you'd like to share with us, we'll probably do stupid warning labels number 2 or something like that down the road, the sequel of even stupider warning labels. And all I can say to you is that if you have not hit the subscribe button, do it now. If you have not hit the like button, there's still time. And more importantly, there's comments below, and say nice things. Say nice things. Why wouldn't you say nice things? And then the other thing is you can join us on Facebook on the Position to Win book Facebook page, and we can go from there. So I just want to thank everybody who's listened to these stupid labels. Go look at all the labels around you. Realize that it is a multi-billion-dollar industry to sue the crap out of everybody. And that's how we'll end up with more stupid labels and more stupid labels and more stupid labels. And who knows how many labels. There'll probably be, some packaging will have to be made larger because there have to be more labels to tell people that this is going to be a mistake. And I'll leave you with the final one, which is, why do we have to have a label that a plastic bag should never be used as a toy for children? I kind of figured that out when I was like, I don't know, 7, 8 years old, but we still have to put that label on every plastic bag. There you go. You've now been warned. That is not a toy, people. That is not a toy. And with that, I want to thank Sandra, and I want to thank you for spending some time on the Raging Verbalist. This has been Raging Verbalist number 94. Stupid labels are out there everywhere. Go find them, send them to us. We'd love to see more of them. And all I can say is that hopefully that this has stretched your brain, snapped your funny bone, and made you say, you know what? Maybe things aren't as good or bad, but things are just fine. And with that, goodbye and have a great one.